Thank you, Ibrahim Karanja, standing in the Central Business District. We are at the Nyayo National Stadium, where after weaving through the streets of Nairobi and the outskirts of Nairobi, the Kenya Defence Forces, the Kenya Army to be specific, have now retreated here, which we have observed to have been their operating base outside the barracks. And they started from here early in the morning and went or snaked through the city and different other places in the outskirts of the city, and just making a statement, because really they have been really standing down, even as they came across crowds that had gathered, protesters who are a bit agitated, but there was no sort of retaliation. In fact, the military has just been weaving through the town, just making what seems to be a statement that indeed the boots are on ground. And of course, that even as the court is expected to make a ruling on whether their deployment or being out of the barracks is indeed constitutional. Remember, this has been challenged by different groups such as the Law Society of Kenya, which filed a petition in court seeking to have the court to bar the deployment of the Kenya Defence Forces, even after the Cabinet Secretary in charge of Defence, Aden Duale, issued a Gazette notice, which was followed by that approval in Parliament, which was quite criticized by different groups as well, because it looked like it was done hurriedly, and reports from members of parliament that it happened behind closed doors without the witnessing of the media, and in a record 30 minutes, which was questioned, as well as the quorum inside parliament when that bill, or rather that proposal, that Gazette notice was being passed in parliament. So today, we've seen the Kenya Defence Forces, the Army, with armored personnel carriers, as you can see there, and one tank they have been using, as well as one Land Cruiser they have been using to weave through town. And just right now, as you can see, they are in pockets speaking to each other, perhaps a brief of how or what will happen next. But this is making a statement because remember, the Kenya Defence Forces, as allowed in the Constitution, is will or allowed to actually guard protected areas, but it has to be constitutional, and that is perhaps why we are seeing that sort of restraint from their end, because there has been no retaliation, no force whatsoever, but just rounds across town. This happens even as there has been more protests from protesters in the CBD. Earlier on, we witnessed protesters engaging in running battles with police officers who have pitched camp and are in the Central Business District. But there are no Kenya Defence Forces or the military officers in town engaging protesters, but rather we witnessed them earlier on retreating to the barracks, and now this contingent over here has been weaving through town. So we have been on their trail just to see how the events of the day have been unfolding. But what we can report is that as they weaved through town, they came across protesters. Protesters who were chanting different patriotic chants, as well as the chants against the government, and of course just to show their agitation, even when it was expected that once the finance bill debate is rested, they would retaliate, but rather they would retreat. But now it seems like there has been an agitation from pockets of protesters who are still insisting that they must forge ahead and occupy State House. But as you can see behind me, you can see they are now making a march from where their armored personnel carriers had been parked, or rather are parked, and this is just a march now, waiting to see where it is leading to. And I can see there the numbers of the Kenya Defence Forces who have been deployed. Looks like they are in their dozens, and I can see they are making their way towards the Nyayo National Stadium complex now. And this is what we are witnessing here. And for the better part of the day, boots on ground from the Kenya Defense Forces, the Kenya Army here. And they have been armed with their guns, but there has been no action from their side, but rather they have been making a statement, weaving through town and sneaking through town there. So these are the scenes from Nyayo National Stadium. As I said, this is where they have been operating from outside the barracks. And right now, as we continue to witness the scenes here, and of course bring you up to speed later, I'd like now to hand you over to my colleague Dan Mwangi.